A young man sits near a ruined house. He's upset that he has not been able to leave this damned place for half a month. He is sick from hunger. The young man is upset because this old man deliberately set him up, secretly organized the operation, and gave away his location, set demons on him, who seriously injured him. A man must find a way to heal his wounds as soon as possible, otherwise he will not be able to take revenge, let alone return to his world. On top of that, this young man has lost all his knowledge, so he can't get out of this mountain, let alone protect himself from animals and demons. The young man tries to calm down, takes a deep breath and hopes that this monster will not come to him. The young man heard a growl behind him. His mood worsened. The young man looked back and saw a large predatory beast that turned towards the young man. He said that he was good at running, but not at all at hiding, so he had to run even further. The young man is horrified. It turns out that this demonic tiger has been chasing him all this time. The tiger said that the youth's spiritual root had been damaged. His power had dissipated, and now he was no different from an ordinary person. The boy screamed in fear. If today was the last day of his life, he was still a virgin and had never even held hands with anyone. It was unfair. The young man did not know what to do. He was looking for help from someone. The boy tried to contact the system so that it would give him some kind of hint or help. Tears welled up in the boy's eyes. 3 whole years had passed, the young man thought. 3 whole years. Who knows what he has endured during these 3 years? It was torture. If he had such an amazing system, why didn't it show itself earlier? The beast told the young man not to ignore him. That was not how things were done. The guy simply ignored the beast. He was contacting its system. The tiger didn't like it, because he was supposed to inspire fear and horror. So he shouted loudly at the young man to stop ignoring him. The beast rushed at the young man. The young man managed to activate a protective barrier. The child is good at this. It's not just about the system. The tiger fell to the ground before it could reach the young man. The man said that now the animal could attack him, and he would see how strong the invincible ball's area was. The terrible and horrible beast said that this was impossible, because the young man should now be no different from an ordinary mortal. The animal opened its huge mouth, bared its big sharp teeth, and screamed at the young man to go to hell. It was very scary. Everyone was scared, but not our hero. He had activated a magic sword with which he was going to kill this beast. The young man used his sword to strengthen the protective barrier and sent the beast flying back with a powerful energy pulse. The system did not fail him. The young man's sword cut through the sky. The kingdom of the immortals. The Lord wonders how this simple immortal dared to tear apart the heavens. He turned out to be very brave. The ruler decided to stop his activities. The great emperor saw the divine cauldron fall to the ground. This cauldron, charged with enormous power, flew straight from heaven to earth. From the ground, it was already visible. It seemed like another sun. It was so bright. Soul Rebirth Cave. The demon noticed that this was the divine cauldron of the 9 heavens. The divine emperor himself took on this task. The demon could not understand what was really happening. What was the meaning of all this? 10,000 immortals sect, heavenly sword pavilion, elder looking into the distance. The elder noticed the exact moment when the immortal sword split the sky. It was the legendary peak of the Tao of the sword. Mortal Kingdom. The young man noticed the celestial artifact and decided that it was a huge opportunity for him. He said that he should immediately send all the students to search for it, and they should do everything in their power. The divine emperor decided to give an order. He said that in the mortal world there was a madman who had cut the heavens, so he lowered the divine cauldron of the 9 heavens. The emperor ordered the 4 great generals to descend to the mortal world immediately. The divine cauldron of the 9 heavens must be found at any cost, and do not spare those who dare to interfere. The 4 great generals declared that they would carry out the emperor's order and set out on their journey. The young man is shocked. It was powerful. He can't understand how he did it. He wonders what caught his sword and caused such great destruction. The young man realized that the system had awarded him points for activating the sword. Furthermore, after killing the 3rd stage tiger demon, the area of the invincible ball increased to 14 meters. The young man received a newbie gift set. The system also did its best. The system offered him the opportunity to make anything into a sword. That is, every leaf and twig could become a sword. The young man decided he had to give it a try. The boy thought it was an incredible option. He waved the leaf in the air like a sword. The young man decided that he now had more opportunities. The young man realized that now, inside the invincible kingdom of the sword, everything was a sword for him. It was cool. The young man decided to conduct another experiment. For this, he needed a log. The young man made a wooden man from a log with only his fingers. It was incredible. He was surprised not only by the strength but also by the precision of the work. The young man contacted the system. He asked why the area of the invincible ball was fixed. It cannot be fixed. The system explained everything to the young man, and he became upset. It turned out that if he took even a step outside the estate, he would become weak again. The 1,000-point ball only increased the area by 10 meters. The young man was very upset. You could see it on his face. How many monsters did he need to destroy to expand the area even more? The young man was still hungry. He decided to take a walk nearby and pick some mushrooms to satisfy his hunger. The guy noticed a group of young guys running after a dog. The puppy ran away from them as fast as it could. The dog thinks these kids chased her for 10 miles. Aren't they tired? The dog ran away from the boy and thought he was the Dark Demon King. If the cauldron that fell from the sky had not injured him, he would have swallowed all the children in one go. His eyes were burning with hatred. The dog saw an abandoned farmstead ahead. Perhaps it was a place where he could hide, he thought. The young man collected very few mushrooms in half a day. He regretted that he did not have at least a piece of meat. He had to cook soup from what he had. It was better than nothing. The dog saw the young man from behind the bushes. He felt that this guy did not have a spiritual aura, so he was just an ordinary person. The dog was also hungry, and she thought that if she ate this brew, she would regain her strength. A formidable dog attacked the young man. He ordered him to give him his soup and his life. Already during the jump, the dog noticed something was wrong. Something happened to the young man's eyes. The young man saw a dog and thought it was meat. The guy forgot about the soup and decided to kill the dog. The dog was stunned. She didn't think that this young man would attack her. The dog stretched out on the rock and could not understand what the young man had hit it with. It seemed that he had a mountain in his hands. Maybe this boy had a treasure. The dog had a bump on his forehead and was very angry. It turned out that he had been hit with a simple soup spoon. The young man decided to scare the dog. He said that he was the great Dark Demon King, and his eyes lit up like a demon's. The dog was truly stunned. The dog was also very ashamed that she was knocked out with a soup spoon. The main thing is that no one finds out about it. A group of young men ran up and chased the dog, shouting that it was a demon and that they had been chasing it for a long time. The dog lay unconscious, knocked out by the young man. The young man asked what was going on here and what these young people wanted here. The girl pulled out her sword and pointed it at the boy. She asked who he was and how he dared to steal their loot, referring to the dog. The young man approached the dog. He remembered the range of his sword. The young men decided to attack him. A group of boys, seeing how invincible this young man was, decided to retreat. They did not know that he was invincible only within the reach of his sword, that he was dangerous even with a spoon. One of the attackers was shocked. How can you use anything as a ball? He had no such opportunity. The young man thought that this really was the legendary state. The young men shouted how this was possible and who he was. They had to face a strong master who lives here in seclusion. The girl asked her older brother Duan what was going on. Our hero was upset that he was left without soup. He believed that this young man was demonstrating one of the divine arts of the world, namely, using any object as a ball. The young man crawled to his bowl of soup and was delighted. Fortunately, not all the soup had spilled. Our hero could not understand what surprised these young people so much. The young man asked if these guys had come for the dog. They said they were chasing this dog. They explained that it was a very strong demonic beast. Otherwise, it would not have been able to escape from them, and it would have had to be more careful. The guy thought that there was a vague flow of sword ki in the bodies of these young people. Apparently, they were cultivators. I wonder where they came from. The young man asked who they were. The young men introduced themselves, said that they were from the Sacred Ball sect, and greeted the young master. The young man introduced the sisters from the same sect. The girls also greeted the young master. The girl called her by name and told the young gentleman not to be offended by her if she offended him with even a word, although she had not yet had time to say anything. The young man said that there was an emergency, and they shouldn't have rushed here so brazenly. They needed this demonic dog, and apologized again. Our hero didn't understand anything. These young people immediately apologized to him. Perhaps they confused him with someone else. The guy decided that communicating with these sword cultivators had become very easy. The man looked at this dog and thought that this was not an ordinary dog. The young men said they had no rights to the dog and apologized for disturbing it. They asked if they could come and visit it next time. The boy thought that the power of this wizard was truly terrifying. The young people decided to get out of here as soon as possible. The young man decided to report this stranger to his master. He shouted at them to stop. The company asked them to wait. They were scared, but stopped, cold sweat running down their faces. The young man said that this dog would not have reached him if it had not been chased, and he did not want someone else's. The young man offered them a wooden toy that he had made himself. The children thanked the owner for such a generous gift. The young man asked the company to be careful on the way back, and he himself set off on his journey in anticipation of dog meat. The divine bird has taken possession of the cauldron. The emperor of the heavenly boat has finally taken possession of the divine artifacts. After he refines his divine body, the entire world will tremble under his feet. The female bird went to land and needed a break. Something caught the attention of this bird. Maybe it was the Dark Demon King, the eagle thought. The Dark Demon King turned out to be a dog who was recovering from being stabbed with a spoon. The bird was interested in what the young man was doing. The young man was making a fire. The bird was furious. How dare this mere mortal make a deal with the Demon King? The bird decided to attack the man and kill him because he deserved it. There is no reason to attack the Demon King. The bird with the cauldron made a soft landing near the estate, next to the young man. The young man noticed something flying in the sky and took a closer look. It was a powerful landing, a huge bird, a huge heavy cauldron, and all this in close proximity. The young man came closer and wondered what was going on here, why this bird fell into the cauldron. The system helped the young man, and he realized that this large bird was actually a 7th-rank demon emperor. Apparently, it did not want to let go of the cauldron that was too heavy for it. The young man began to analyze. It seemed that the bird flew into the sword area and activated some kind of defense mechanism. Even the demon emperor died from it. How strong is he? The young man decided, well, let it be as it is. What happened, happened. The boy decided for himself that it was time. Now there was no need to look for the cauldron. The boy decided that he would save the fried dog for later. Tonight he would have stewed bird with mushrooms. The dog came to his senses and immediately fell asleep. He needed to regain his strength. When the dog woke up, she noticed that she had a headache because she had been knocked out with a spoon. Memories came to the dog, and she remembered that this was the work of a bloodthirsty cook. This cook must be dealt with, the dog thought. The dog saw the bird, came up to it, and called out, "Your Highness." The bird did not respond. The dog was terrified. She was talking to the head of His Highness, and the young man was doing something at the cauldron, apparently cooking soup. When the young man turned around and looked at the dog, he was indescribably horrified. The demon emperor had been eaten. How could that be possible? The dog was so shocked that she fell off the pedestal onto the ground. The world turned upside down for her because she was lying upside down. The dog was shaking with fear because His Highness had turned into soup. It was scary and terrible. The young man continued to eat. The dog recognized the cauldron. It was the same cauldron that fell from the sky and injured the dog. It was a divine cauldron, and this scoundrel was cooking soup in it. The dog thought that this young man was definitely crazy and also incredibly powerful, who was secretly cultivating himself here. The dog hit itself and a terrible thought came into its head. The animal broke out in cold sweat. This young man could also eat it after the demon emperor. The young man approached the dog. The dog had an idea in his head what to do. The dog really wanted to get away from here. The guy analyzed the situation. This dog is a demonic monster. Then why does he look so puzzled? It's weird. The young man dismissed the thought and decided that the main thing was that the dog was tasty, so he reached for the knife. The young man thought that there were many demonic creatures roaming around the estate, so he couldn't go out, and he didn't know if he would be able to find another big piece of dog meat soon. The dog screamed at the young man to stay away from her. She was terribly unpleasant and said that the wolf should not be cornered. The young man activated his gift and his eyes lit up like a demon's. The dog was shaking with fear. Cold sweat soaked his fur. He said that the young man did not approach him. There was horror in his eyes. The dog felt hopeless. She screamed that the young man should not eat her. She did not want to die. She had not yet experienced all the colors of the world. In fact, she was giving up. The young man realized from the dog's behavior that she was showing him mercy and begging him not to eat her, and saying that she did not want to die. The young man said, "Okay, as you wish. He just doesn't have a guard dog in his new place. If the dog agrees, he can stay and guard his estate." The dog realized that he had to live, but he, the Demon King, would have to become a human's pet. How was that possible? The young man thought that since the dog was still there, he should feed it. The bone flew out from under the dog's feet. The dog thought it was the demon emperor's bone. There was even some meat left on it. It was very humiliating. The dog wondered if the young man really wanted him to eat his majesty. He was clearly overdoing it. The young man had been looking forward to it. The dog thought, well, so what? After all, he was only a guard dog, and that was better than being a roast dog. The dog apologized to his majesty and began to chew the bone. The bone was tasty. All is calm, and in the heavenly kingdom everything is going smoothly and on schedule. The young people returned to their sect. They had something to tell the elder. The young man decided to turn to his mentor. He had to tell him about the stranger. The elder asked why the young men had returned. The youth said that under the elder's orders, they went to Mount Shiwan to find a divine artifact. They did not find the artifact, but they met a strong expert who had reached a state where he could use anything as a ball, and this expert could help them deal with the blood demon. The old man wondered how anyone could use anything as a ball. How this mountain was full of demonic beasts. How could a person live on it? The old man thought that if someone lived on this mountain, then he would certainly know about it, because he was a cultivator at the stage of discrimination. The young man began to justify himself, saying that he would never dare to deceive the elder, but he had witnesses. The old man sighed, which meant he had missed something. The elder said that their sect was over 10,000 years old, and in that time only 3 people had been able to comprehend the will of the orb and use something as an orb. Even the ancestor couldn't do it. The girl stood up for the young man and said that they definitely felt his divine will of the sword. The elder said that all 3 youths were in the stage of tempering the body, so everything seemed strong to them. The will of the sword is not an easy stage to achieve. The old man said that most likely the young people were deceived by some trick, because they had never seen the will of the ball before. If there had been such a ball expert on the mountain, everyone would have known about him long ago. The elder told the young man to take the disciples and go as far away as possible and never come back. He added that the blood demon seal was getting weaker every minute and they could no longer maintain it. The young people are still very young and I should die with the old people. The disciples asked what their mentor would say. The elder replied that when the blood demon broke the seal, he and the elders would fight the demon to the death to prevent it from escaping. The old man added that they had almost no time left. The demon claimed that people thought they could stop him, but they were sorely mistaken. The elder told the other elders that they must act together. Only then could they expect victory. The elders invited everyone else to join the Holy Sword formation. The old men said in unison, "Begin," and the Holy Sword descended from heaven to earth. The sword could not cope with the demon and fulfill its purpose. The old man was wounded. The demon attacked him, and blood flowed from his mouth. In response to the sword attack, the demon only laughed. Do these elders really think they can harm him? The wounded elder noticed that the young men had returned to help him. The old man shouted at them to run away from here immediately and tell everyone that the bloody demon had escaped. The blood demon rose up and said that no one could escape from him. He called them the scum of the Holy Sword sect. He decided to destroy the people and brought down his huge fiery sword on them. The people managed to escape. As they were running away, the girl fell and dropped the wooden figurine that the stranger had given her. She noticed that the figure's eyes lit up, probably in reaction to the demon's presence. The demon screamed loudly and the figure rushed towards him. The demon screamed that it was impossible. He couldn't die just by breaking out of his confinement. The figure hit the demon and fell to the ground. The young people were scared, but curiosity got the better of them and they noticed this wooden figurine. The figure modestly announced that the blood demon was dead. The elder took the wooden figurine in his hands and declared that from that day on, this figurine would become the treasure of their sect, and all disciples should worship it and try to comprehend the will of the ball contained within it. The elder gathered everyone on the platform and told everyone to remember his words. Everyone began to say that they did not abandon their holy sword sect, but all because of this treasure. The old man told the young people that they had returned with a treasure that had helped defeat the blood demon, that it would not be forgotten, and that descendants would appreciate it. The master asked the young people to tell him more about the master they had met on Mount Shivan. The young man told the whole truth, without concealment and directly, about how they met the great master on the mountain. After the story, the elder was indignant. This figurine was made of ordinary wood, but the sword inside it killed the blood demon. The old man kept repeating that all this was incredible and terrible, how powerful this young man was. He possessed the stage of liberation or even divinity. The teacher was told that the spiritual energy in the world is no longer as saturated as before, Not everyone can reach the stage of liberation, and it is generally impossible to reach the stage of divinity. The old man decided that he should go and check it out for himself. He decided to take the divine sword Kabar and the sacred land with him and asked to be taken to the young man. The young man said that the Scarlet Dragon divine sword was the treasure of their sect. Does the elder really want to give the sect's treasures to someone he doesn't know? And the sacred land was brought directly from the immortal realm by the ancestors. The elder was indignant, saying that it was a wooden statue, and he was being asked to come to the master's house empty-handed. The treasures of their sect were not worth a speck of dust in the eyes of this young man. The old man believed that honest work could never compare with professional bootlicking, and that flattery was the only sure path to success. On the way, the elder thought that he would be able to appease the owner, and he would teach them a couple of tricks, or the secret of growing balls. Master concluded that all of this would also allow the Holy Sword sect to become the strongest sect for many centuries to come. The students felt that their teacher, as always, was open and honest, and had thought everything through in advance. A young man relaxes on his estate and has fun with his dog. The young man kicks his dog and says that she is a guard dog and therefore should not sleep all day. After all, he did not spare her in vain. The dog thought he was the demon king, and everyone was afraid of him, and that he was the strongest on that mountain. And now they treat him like a yard dog. The dog thought he was feeling very depressed. The dog barked and thought that the young man was being unfair to her and was oppressing her greatly. The young man, looking at his dog, wondered, "What kind of dog is this? It can even dig a hole." The young man decided that since the dog could dig, he could help plow the land, and they could plant something in the yard. The dog begged for help, screaming that the demon king needed to be saved. A young specialist named San Yulan flew past. The girl thought that she had spent too much spiritual energy. If she did not replenish it, she would definitely be caught. The girl was amazed that in this wilderness in the south there really was an estate. The girl decided to go to land, but something down there seemed strange to her. Whatever it was, she thought it was better than being caught by these people. The young woman saw the man, and that was great, she thought. The girl thought that since this man lived in solitude among the endless, lifeless mountains, he was definitely not an ordinary person. The girl turned to the young man for help. She flew straight towards him. The young man decided that this was the legendary will of the sword. The girl felt that if she took even one step forward, she might die. The young man noticed that someone was landing again. How could there be so many people in this abandoned place, he thought. The guard dog rushed towards the stranger. The young man shouted at the dog to stop. The girl thought that he had simply flashed past her and looked warily at the young man. The stranger looked at the young man and decided that he looked very young. The girl was surprised that she couldn't feel the young man's aura. Was he really an ordinary person? The girl decided that even if it wasn't his will of the sword, he was definitely not that simple. The stranger had heard that some old monsters like to pretend to be innocent wolves eating sheep. The girl apologized to the young man and said that she had no choice but to invade his territory. The young man thought, aliens again. The young man did not understand why everyone who came here called him an elder. He did not look like an old man. The young man asked what the girl wanted there and noticed that she was not going to get angry. Something incredible happened. Young people ran from all sides and a terrible monster appeared. The girl was frightened, knelt down in front of the young man, and said that the Guan Ying sect had conspired with the demons to capture her and give her to the demon king as a concubine. Her father refused, but he did not expect them to attack. Everyone in her family is now dead. She is the only one who managed to escape, and she asks for help. The young man was very surprised, after all. It is a very righteous sect. Why would they do something like that? The young man believed that the world of cultivators was full of discord, and he should not make a decision by listening to only one side. The young man thought that although he was invincible in this mansion, he did not want others to take advantage of him. The young man looked at the girl and hesitated. Her eyes were pleading for help. The girl said that if the elder did not save her, they would definitely kill her or do something worse. The young man reassured her, saying that if he himself did not want it, then no one would be able to take her away. The young man decided to find out what kind of people were hunting the girl. The young man asked threateningly why they were here. The dog growled. The girl hid behind his back. The young man told his elder brother that this girl's spiritual power was very depleted and she should not be caught now. The elder brother told him to shut up. Does he really think that someone would come to this place? There are many hidden masters in this world, and this young man might be one of them. They are not that strong, and if I am a master for a few years, they might die before they realize what happened. The young man noticed that the boundary between the demon world and the world of spellcasters was right here. Perhaps someone was hiding in this place. This young man definitely doesn't look like his owner, and this dog doesn't look like an ordinary dog either. The elder brother believed that one should be careful in any case. The eldest of the pursuers introduced himself and said that they were pursuing a traitor, and that the young man should not believe a single word of this liar. The young man stated that this girl had begun cultivating demonic techniques and had sacrificed her entire family. She had killed many other students and was now trying to deceive the young man. The young man said that he knew her real identity, and they all just wanted to grab her. The girl attacked her pursuer and said that he was shamelessly lying, since these people were collaborating with demons, and they wanted to send her to the Demon King. The girl, with tears in her eyes, said that her father wanted to stop these people, but they killed him, and they killed her entire family. The dog thought that somewhere there was a demon king who loved human women. The young man listened to both sides and could not come to a decision about which of them was telling the truth and what he should do now. And then an evil and terrible demon appeared with his retinue. The demon asked why they were all waiting so long. How long could they wait? The demon approached the young men who were pursuing the girl and said threateningly that she was right in front of them. Why couldn't they grab her, take her prisoner, and deliver her to him? The young man began to cower, stutter, and point his finger at the young man. The demon got angry, pushed the boys aside, and said that the king's wedding was delayed because of some mortal. Human spellcasters were just trash. The young people pressed themselves against the wall in fear. They were very afraid of these demons. The pursuer thought that these demonic generals had finally gotten down to business. The warriors of the bull tribe had strong bodies that no blade could pierce, and the guy was not to be envied now. The demon thought that if he took this girl now, he might be rewarded with demonic pills. He looked at our hero fiercely. The young man looked at the big man with a smile and said when he stopped pretending. The girl became worried and held her fist for her savior. These bulls are demonic generals in the body-hardening stage. The young man is confident that he can handle them. The young man said he didn't think their righteous sect would start working with demons. The dog thought the show was about to begin. The young man picked up a small branch from the ground. He was on his territory. The young man said, "Well, if that is so, then let everyone attack, and let's not waste time." The demon swung his formidable weapon at the young man and shouted that he would get it now. In that same second, the young man cut the demon into pieces like a meat processing plant. The young man believed that good meat should be cut properly. The other demons were shocked. The young men chasing the girl were also shocked. Even the dog was shocked. The girl thought of the young man. For him, even a small branch was enough to instantly kill the demon general. What a terrifying sword power. The young man thought about the young man. He must be at least in the stage of the birth of a soul or even in the stage of becoming a god. The dog looked at the disfigured demon and remembered how she felt that day when she came to this farm. The system announced to the young man that he had received 800 points for this mission for destroying the demon general. The young man said that it was better than nothing. Our hero took his twig and asked who was next and went to the young men. They decided that this guy was a wolf in sheep's clothing. The young men cried uncontrollably. They were scared. They thought that this guy was not a wolf, but a real tiger. The young man said with tears in his eyes that they were misunderstood and that they were not like that. The remaining demons scattered, deciding to run and tell their king what had happened. The young man asked why they were leaving already, whether they would stay for dessert. The young man began to push the air with a twig, creating a characteristic sound as he moved his sword. The enemy recoiled and stopped. The young man asked what exactly he had misunderstood because, in fact, he did not understand. The young man crawled on his knees with tears in his eyes, muttering and muttering something and saying nothing at all. Our hero waved his twig and said, "We'll finish here." But at the last moment, the young man thought, if he killed this guy, then how would the Gwangling sect and the Demon King be able to know about what happened here? And if they don't know anything, how will they come here to take revenge? And then the young man will not be able to gain much experience. The dog decided it was time to finish off this liar. The young man thought that he should trick him into bringing more people so that he could somehow expand the sword's reach. The young man said that he would spare his life today and allow him to convey a message to the head of his sect and the Demon King. The message that Sun Yulan was under his protection. The girl blossomed with happiness. The young man continued. And as long as he was alive, no one could harm her. The dog did not expect such mercy. so it was better to tear her to pieces and cut her into pieces. The boy couldn't believe he was still alive. Tears and snot continued to flow. The young man said that now all free people could leave here, and the sooner the better. Our hero fell to the ground and started coughing up blood. No one expected this. The girl rushed to the old man in fear and asked what had happened to him. The young man said that he was fine. He just had a minor injury, and asked the girl to take him to the estate. The dog thought the young man was pretending and asked, "Why does he need this?" The young man, who had just almost died, looked at our hero from the side. He thought that this guy was already on the verge of despair. The boy was alarmed by the terrifying intentions of our hero's sword, but why does no one know about this boy? Something is definitely wrong here. The young man decided to return to his sect and tell his mentor about what had happened, and then take revenge on this young man for the humiliation he had suffered, doubly so, and this girl would get hers too. Sun Yulan helped our hero get to the estate. It was difficult for him to move around alone. The young man smiled and said that he felt much better. The girl could not believe that the boy felt better. The dog thought it was a provocation of revenge. What a shameless guy this owner is. Song Yulan asked, wondering if the master had gotten better. The young man said that he felt much better. The girl could rest easy. The girl said that the elder should not have let this abomination go because his sect would not leave them alone. The young man thought that this was what he needed. There were rumors that several elders of the Guangling sect were at the nascent soul stage, or even at the out-of-body stage. Song Yulan knew all these rumors. The Demon King wanted to get this girl. The girl told the young man that he had saved her life, and if he was in danger because of her, she would help him. The young man said that the girl could be at peace as long as she remained in this estate. No one in the world can harm her, and he will protect her. The girl looked at the young man as if he were older than her. Yulan knelt down and said that she wanted to express her gratitude for his great kindness, and that she would like to become this great master's disciple and serve him in the future. The young man was very surprised by what he heard. It amazed him. The young man thought that although he was invincible in the sword realm, he essentially had no education and had nothing to teach this girl. The guy mysteriously replied that he doesn't take students. At the moment, the system reported that the body of the Dao sword has been discovered. There is a new mission to take this body under your protection and get a special reward. The girl sympathized with the young man's refusal. She believes that he should look down on someone with such mediocre qualifications as she. Besides, they are not relatives or friends. The young man approached the girl, took her by the shoulder, and said that he was ready to make an exception for her, and from today, she would become his student. The young woman could not believe her luck. The young old man took her under his wing. The young man gestured to the girl to stop calling him senior. It was time to change their address. The girl looked at the young man and was very happy. The girl realized that she would become a student of such a great master. Yulan is ashamed. The elder is ready to risk his life for her, and she cannot repay him in the same coin, but she will have the opportunity to avenge her family. Sun Yulan knelt down and greeted his mentor. The system scanned the girl and found that the Dao sword body, this divine innate body, contained the chi of the golden heavenly stem. The system repeated that the young man would receive a special reward by accepting this body as his disciple. The boy thought it was an easy task. The system announced that the task was completed. The reward for this was the instruction for the sword's design. The young man thought that in his territory, the energy of his ball was not infinite. He decided to check how it actually works. The young man tried to use his fingers like a sword against the tree. The young man ran his fingers over the wood as if it were butter. Yulan was delighted that this was possible. The dry tree instantly blossomed and became covered with leaves. The dog barked with joy. She was proud of her owner. The dog felt a surge of strength, and her injuries were healing quickly. The young man thought that this was unheard of in the whole world. Yulan decided that her master was definitely immortal. The boy looked around the tree and thought that a light dose of sword ki could only have a limited effect, since the soil here was not nutritious enough for anything to grow properly. The young man decided in this case to revive all the vegetation in this estate. Half a day has passed. The girl follows the young man. The dog runs ahead. The young man asked Yulan if she knew why he took her as a student. Yulan said that she was too stupid to understand her mentor's deep thoughts. However, if the mentor wanted, the girl would not object. Only it all happens too fast. The young man thought that it was difficult for him to accept her as a student because she was not ill. The young man sighed sadly. Master said that the continent is too vast, and heavenly chosen ones appear from time to time like disasters. Some of them have special physiques or bloodlines, and some are endowed with strength through chance encounters. In order to make the stars of the immortal cultivation world shine, the world's strongest are increasingly chosen to go out. What kind of girl does she think she is? The girl guessed right about her mentor, which means she belongs to the second type. The young man said that this was the wrong answer because it applied to both types. The dog thought, "This girl has a special physique?" It shouldn't be like that, after all. She does have a special physique, so why can't a dog with the powers of a demon king recognize it? The girl asked if her mentor thought she had some special body type. The young man said that it was true. She had a special physique. Maybe that was why the demon king had his eye on her. Somewhere nearby, a disciple kneels before his master. Everyone is ready to hear what the young man has to say about this and why he returned alone. Yulan asked the master what kind of physique she had. Strong. The young man says, "Of course she is strong. Her body is the body of the Tao sword, which is excellent for sword practitioners." The dog thinks that it is impossible. Bodies are divided into unfit, mortal, spiritual, special, other divine bodies in Tao. Even the dog has a special physique. Could it be that this young girl has the physique of a top-level Tao body? The girl understood why the sect and the demon king wanted to kidnap her, because she had the body of the Tao sword. The young man said that the sect and the demon king didn't realize this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent several demon generals to capture her. The girl stated that she had not shown any talent since childhood, and therefore could not be the chosen one. The young man said that the Tao sword body was different from other body types. Only after awakening could a person show unparalleled cultivation speed, and after that, all 8 great sects would try to take the girl for themselves. The young lady said that if she had the chance, the young lady remembered what had happened to her family. It was no one's fault. The girl thought that if she had the power, this would not have happened. There was hatred in her eyes. Yulan asked her mentor to help her awaken the Tao sword body. Her gaze was determined. The young lady was thinking about revenge. The young man said that the girl must first sense the intent of his sword. Southern wilderness, ancient area. Girls show their mentor the place where they saw a young man with a dog. This place seemed ordinary to the old man. He could not even imagine that an expert would live in such a secluded place. The elder and his disciples decided to land at this estate. Looking at this estate, the teacher thought how dense the life essence was. The girl added that during their last visit there was nothing like this. The young man was delighted with this state. He had never seen such an abundance of spiritual energy. It seemed that its reserves were endless. The student compared being here to being in an ocean of spiritual energy, which she could feel through every inch of her skin. This spiritual energy can be felt in every strand of her hair, and even her breath is enveloped in an endless supply of life essence. The dog barked. She saw that they had guests again. This estate is gaining popularity, and all thanks to its owner. The student reported to her master that this was the very dog they were chasing, and it seemed that the young man decided to take it home with him. The elder looked at this dog and thought that it was somehow unreasonable. The old man became frightened. His face changed, and pointing to this dog, he shouted that this was a demonic dog. The dog looked at the aliens, and the aliens recognized the dog as the Demon King. The old man was scared. He didn't understand why the Demon King was here, what he was doing here, and what happened to the young man. The old man was very scared. He realized that the Demon King had discovered them, and he had a feeling that he was about to pounce on them. The dog decided that the old man had at least a drop of consciousness. He realized how strong he was. In this case, the old man decided to show what he was capable of and present himself in a favorable light. The dog began to bark loudly, letting everyone know that she was waiting for these people. The young man got angry at his dog and told him to stop barking. He explained that Yulan was trying to figure out the purpose of the sword and he was in the way. The dog did not calm down and continued to bark furiously. The boy realized why his dog was so capricious. He had guests again. They were the same young guys, and they brought an old man with them. The young man wondered who this old man really was and what he wanted here. The elder was terribly surprised. This young man is treating the Demon King like a guard dog. How is that possible? Just how strong is this young man? He should be at least at the tribulation transition stage. The old man didn't think that there were such powerful and stupid people in the world. The girl introduced her elder to the young man, saying that he was the mentor and current head of the Holy Sword sect, and they had come to thank the young man for the wooden statue he had given them. The young man was surprised when the head of the sect himself came to him. The elder greeted the young man and apologized for the uninvited visit. The boy found it funny that even the elder of the sect called the young man an elder, although it was obvious that he was not old enough. but the young man decided not to worry about it. The young man invited the guest to come to him. He thanked him and apologized again for the disturbance. The old man realized that he was not mistaken. This young man was an influential person who was at the stage of overcoming grief, so he should try to please him. The old man continued to assess the young man and thought that with his cultivation level, he could not detect any fluctuations in this young man's spiritual power. He decided that this guy's cultivation level was high enough that he could not see it. The old man told the young man about this and asked if perhaps the young man had already reached the stage of returning to the origins. The boy, smiling, said that perhaps it was so. The old man found it incomprehensible. The young man thought to himself that he had no development at all, so he could not be at this stage. Passing by the girl, the young man said that his student understood the idea of the ball and asked her not to interfere. The guests thought that this guy's manners could be compared to the promised places, because only in the mountain abodes of the Celestials could such a view be seen. The young man noticed that the soil in this place was infertile. The elder guessed that the statue that the young man had given to his disciple last time had solved their sect's dilemma, so the old man came to express his gratitude and give a small gift. The young man was very surprised to hear the purpose of the visit. The young man examined the gifts. It was some kind of earth and a sword. The elder explained that this was divine, fertile land, brought by an ancestor from the land of immortals, and there were rumors that divine medicines could be grown on it. As for the sword, the elder praised it. It is a divine sword made of red gold, which is the treasure of the Holy Sword sect. The boy was surprised. This old man suddenly gave him such valuable gifts. Does he really want him to patronize them? But he cannot leave the estate now. The old man asked if the young man liked these gifts, because they were the best they had in the sect. The elder again called the young man an elder and asked him to accept these gifts as a sign of respect. The young man, looking at the soil, thought that it was a complex fertilizer. Then it was really fertile soil. The old man said that he wanted to personally give this land to the young man. Maybe he would grow something on it. The young man decided that the soil was good for growing vegetables, so he decided to start a vegetable garden. The sect master was surprised at how this expert was going to use the divine soil, however. It was not bad. He still accepted the gift, so he could be satisfied. The young man decided to invite the old man to dinner as a sign of his gratitude, since he had recently killed several demonic bulls and cooked their meat. The old man happily accepted the offer. He hoped to become closer to this wonderful young man. The guy said the beef was about to boil. As he approached the cauldron, the sect elder noted that the aroma of the soup was delicious. The old man tried to move the cauldron, but he couldn't. The old man saw that this was not a simple cauldron, but a tripod, an unusual one. The man was amazed. Could this really be a divine artifact that fell from the sky? All the sects in the world are looking for this tripod, and this divine weapon that came from the heavens is used as a saucepan by the expert. The young man thought that the old man was already weak, and it was difficult for him to carry such a pot. The young man said he would carry the cauldron and gestured to the old man to the side. The old man explained to his disciple what the cauldron actually was. He said that it was a divine artifact that had recently fallen to the earth. The old man added that the recent sky explosion incident was also related to this young expert. The disciples guessed that this young man's cultivation level was very high. The elders supported this and said that the level of cultivation was at least at the level of an earthly immortal. The young woman was amazed to see an immortal earthly being in front of her. She thought how good it was that they did not harm the young elder when they chased the dog. The girl decided not to offend the young man, otherwise the consequences would have been dire. The young old man said that dinner was ready and invited everyone to the table. The old man said that he would not dare refuse such an offer. Everyone admired the young elder's culinary skills. The old man was pleased with the abundance of spiritual energy he received. The girl liked the texture, which perfectly matched the taste of beef. Another student, after trying the soup, thought she was floating across a meadow among grazing cows. Everyone was absolutely delighted with this lunch. After dinner, the old man thanked the host for his hospitality and said that he would not dare to disturb him again. The young man invited them to visit him next time. The old man promised to visit him again. The old man thought that he had broken through to the divine transformation stage without even noticing it. One of the students noticed this and said that her mentor had made a breakthrough. The man said that there was nothing surprising about it, because this manor was overflowing with spiritual energy and sword key energy, and the stew cooked in the divine artifact led to the purification of his spiritual energy. After lunch, the young man decided to put the donated land to good use. He thought that with the help of this fertilizer, he would be able to grow many different fruits. After some time, the guy saw a glowing fruit on the tree. It was incredible. The young man thought it was a ginseng fruit. The young man saw something unexpected and wondered where this man came from. The dog thought it was a ghost and started barking loudly to scare it away. Yulin also saw this ghost and was surprised it took on a human form. The guy came to the conclusion that it was because of the added fertilizers that the tree turned into a spirit. The girl suggested that he was not turning into a spirit, but was absorbing immortal energy. The girl put forward her theory. If a ghost absorbs ki and takes the form of a person under an old tree, it will become a spirit. But if he absorbs immortal energy, he becomes an immortal spirit. The dog continued to bark incessantly. The young man thought that when trees absorbed chi energy and turned into spirits, one could see how the life force knew the world. Everyone saw that it was incredibly strong ki. People couldn't understand what was happening. It was an abundant life force. Could it be that the tree had turned into a spirit? How strong must this spirit be if its attraction is so strong? All who saw this spell decided that this life force was as vast as the ocean itself. The old man who saw this decided that there was a reason for this. The elder thought that the expert who caused this event was definitely not a mere mortal. Everyone decided they should see it and headed in that direction. The young elder, his disciple, and his faithful dog rushed towards the green man. The young man who appeared near the tree said that he was blessed by the immortals. His body and soul were one, and thus he had entered the path of immortality. From now on, he would take upon himself the duty of guarding this estate. The young man said that he didn't have a name yet. He asked the owner to tell him a name. Our hero decided to come up with some name for his new character. The young man said that he was born from the ginseng fruit and became an immortal spirit. It was his luck that allowed him to become the favorite of the great Dao estate. Based on the above factors, the guy decided to name him Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan thanked the owner for giving him this name and said that he would do his best to protect this estate. Our hero said that he was glad that the young man liked his new name. The guy said that from now on he would entrust him with guarding this estate. The young man decided that the fertilizer turned out to be quite good. Yulan was amazed by her master's incredible strength, as he was able to transform an ancient tree into a mortal celestial being. She considered it a great feat. The demon clan and the human clan decided to unite to achieve a common goal. Both clans head to our hero's estate to avenge the damage done and the dishonored honor, to avenge the entire estate where the above-mentioned crimes took place, and for the injustice done to it. The head of the human clan suspected something was wrong. He felt the irresistible energy of the immortal spirit, and it frightened him. The main demon laughed in response. Nothing here scared him. The beast said that the mountain belonged to the demons, and as long as he was here, no one would dare touch them. People said that this was exactly the case, and that His Majesty possessed incredible strength and power, and they simply could not help but take possession of this small estate. Everything was quiet and peaceful in the estate. The girl was meditating, the dog was digging another hole, and the young man was resting and gaining strength. Nothing foreshadowed trouble. The young man turned his attention to the aliens. He hadn't expected them to come so quickly. The effort he had put in was worth it. A group of attackers positioned themselves near the estate fence. A dog ran up to them. The man thought that this demonic dog looked quite strong and even frightening. The dog lay there, assessing with his sharp gaze all who came, both demons and humans. There was a demonic look in his eyes. The demon sniffed and realized that the youth's technique was really high. He could absorb spiritual energy even without practicing. He should definitely obtain his cultivation method. The man stated that he did not expect to meet such an amazing dog in this wilderness. The young man added that it was definitely an incredibly powerful demon, and if they could make this dog their spirit pet, it would be useful in the future. They asked if the dog would agree to become the guardian spirit animal of their sect. The demon turned to the dog and said that he was still a demon, and how he could begin to serve a person. The demon asked if the dog was ready to accept him as his master and become the right hand of the Demon King. Does he really want to make him his assistant? The Demon King said that if the dog agreed, he would give him possession in the future. The Demon King stroked the dog's head and added that the dog would become the ruler of this domain. The dog began to bark at the demon and asked him who he thought he was, why he thought he was so great, and how he even dared to come here. The demon said that dogs don't change their behavior, and he is just a guardian of some person. Maybe his offer wasn't attractive enough for the dog. The demon said that he was a demon and offered to go over to his side and worship him. The Demon King said that a disgrace like this dog must die and swung his weapon at him. The dog did not tolerate such humiliation and immediately rushed at the Demon King using all his demonic power. Everyone who saw it was shocked. What is wrong with this dog? The demon said he didn't think such a dog could do anything. The dog said that she had not yet regained her full strength because she had not yet recovered from the effects of the injury. The dog added that the demon was mistaken if he thought he could look down on him. The demon looked at the dog's aura and assumed that he was also the Demon King. How is that possible? The demonic dog attacked the demonic bull. It was something unusual. A battle to the death began. Two demons destroyed everything in the area, fighting with each other. People couldn't understand what was happening. They had never seen such a battle before. Demons were fighting each other. The man wondered where the Demon King came from, since no one had ever reported about him. The young man thought it was just an ordinary, stupid mongrel and didn't understand anything. The head of the human sect came to the conclusion that if this guy's estate was guarded by the Demon King himself, then something was wrong. A young elder appeared, accompanied by his disciple, and said, "The guests have finally arrived." The girl recognized everyone, the elder of the Guanlin sect and the Bull Demon King. The sect leader looked at the young man and decided that this was the same person that his disciple had reported to him, but he looked like he had no cultivation. But how could he control the Demon King? Something was wrong here. The elder turned to the young man. He liked the disciples of their sect. The young man replied, "What's wrong with killing a bunch of ungrateful bastards?" The students tried to object to him, but the teacher interrupted them, saying that the young man was undoubtedly trying to provoke them. The man decided that this young elder was more powerful than he had previously thought. At this moment, the demonic Bull King was cornered by the dog. The sect leader thought that the sect might fall today. The sect master never thought that this girl would find such a powerful patron and bring such troubles upon his head. The man told the young elder that he saw great potential in this girl, since he decided to take her under his wing. Strength is revered in the cultivation world, so the Guanlin sect decided to retreat. The man added that in gratitude for his kindness, they would return tomorrow with gifts. The young man was shocked. Something had gone wrong. Shouldn't this man have attacked him? The sect master said that he was grateful for the mercy shown, and everyone began to leave. Our hero ordered everyone to stop. The young man wondered what would happen to his ball area points, which the system had promised if they left. The young man said that Sun Yulan was his disciple, and the sect colluded with the demons to destroy her family. They did a very nasty thing to his disciple. The young man added, "How can they have the nerve to try to leave as if nothing happened? He can't let that happen." The elder stopped and realized that he was in trouble. One of the students shouted that the young man was bluffing and that he should simply be killed. Suddenly, the young man screamed, and an elder appeared behind him with a drawn sword. The young man fell dead. An old man with a fierce face and a bloody sword stood over his body. Our hero didn't understand anything that was happening here. The sect master said it was true. They planned to send the girl to the Demon King, but they did not want to destroy her family. It was the young man who did it, and killing him would satisfy the young elder. The young man thought that the head of the sect had gone crazy. The young elder and his young disciple were amazed at what appeared before them. The young man thought that this sect leader had not yet realized how much power this young man possessed, but had already killed one of his subordinates and blamed him. This man was truly inhuman. The followers of this sect could not be considered righteous. The guy understood that this world was ruthless, but in this case he was a hunter, and the head of the sect was his prey, and he could not leave it unpunished. The young man told the sect master that these were all empty words, and one life cannot atone for all the sins he committed against his beloved disciple. The man began to justify himself. Isn't this man's death enough? If this situation is not left, then there will be no choice but to fight. An ordinary student is not worth it. The man said that the young man was right. This girl had recently become his student, and this girl must decide for herself whether she can expect mercy from a man. The young man told his student that her enemy was now standing before her, and he told her to destroy him. The girl was scared. Their level of development was much higher than hers. The young man said that she had already learned something and she should trust him. Everything would be fine with her. The young elder told the girl to go on the attack, and the best way to take revenge was with her own hands. The young man said that he would guarantee life to anyone who could defeat his student. The sect master thought that even if this girl had a supreme sword in her hands, she was not even at the golden core stage. The man said that if the young man was sure of this, then it suited him. The young man ordered Yulan to attack. The girl did not know how to do it because she did not know anything at all. The young lady plucked up her courage, drew her sword, and declared to the Guanlin clan that she would not let them escape the Sun family's blood feud. The sect master said that the girl was very shameless after all. She was just a simple girl. She was lucky to have a patron. The owner threatened the girl verbally and turned to his assistant. He offered to fight that girl just in case, but the head of the cult decided to play it safe. The girl didn't care who she started with. She was waiting for her opponent. The young man assumed a fighting stance and said that she could not count on winning because he was serious. The young man noticed that the girl was holding a divine sword in her hands. The girl swung her sword several times to show how fast he was. Yulan swung her sword several times and said that the young man was talking nonsense. The young man fell, struck down by the young woman. The young elder turned to the system and saw that he had been awarded 400 points of ball territory. The opponents were shocked by what they saw and how quickly the fight had turned. The guy was glad that the system also took into account the people his student destroyed. That's not bad. The girl was also surprised by her result. The sect master said that her ball handling skills were really good. The man added that she had not even reached the golden core stage yet. The sect master sent another warrior to deal with the girl, but ordered her to leave her alive. The young man thought that although he had sworn not to interfere in the duel, he would later be able to avenge the murder of his student. The sect master cursed the young man. He thought that his sect had never suffered such humiliation, so he decided that they would get even. But first, there had to be a way out of the situation. The student's rival screamed that she would cut off both her hands, and then everyone would know whether her mentor would want to continue fighting with them because of her. The girls entered into a fierce fight. Sparks from the swords flew in all directions, and no one was going to give in. Women's combat is something special, especially with swords. Yulan demonstrated excellent martial arts skills, something her opponent did not expect. The sect disciple noted that Yulan was indeed good at some things, but it was not enough to defeat her. Fear flashed in the girl's eyes. She saw the monstrous intent of her rival's sword. Where did she get it from? The girl felt the pressure of the ball and noticed that her body could not move. Yulan quickly slashed her sword across her opponent's neck. The girl did not understand how it happened. The sword fell from her hands. She fell to her knees. Blood flowed down her body. It was the end. Everyone who watched this fight was amazed at how this was possible. Everyone thought that there was a silent silence on everyone's faces. The girl thought that she had actually managed to defeat someone at the nascent soul stage. But why did she look like she was frozen in fear? Julin thought that perhaps the mentor was helping her. The young man was happy with everything. The system awarded another 3,000 points to the ball territory. Life began to improve. The girl was very touched by her owner's attention. Julian was delighted with her victory. She pointed her sword at her opponents and asked, "Who's next?" The opponents could not understand what had happened. No one wanted to deal with this girl anymore. They had a vague suspicion that the young man might be secretly helping her. But the head of the sect objected. He saw no movement from her mentor, so he sent another of his disciples to fight the girl and said that she could not be spared. Now another opponent, Julian, entered the duel with shouts. The young man, looking at the previous victim, thought that he was weaker than her and his chances were less. The cult master shouted that the young man would succeed. Just don't give up. Julian remembered how she had just defeated her rival and decided that she would do the same to this young man. There was an explosion somewhere in the forest, and it was very loud. The bull demon was fighting with the dog. He couldn't understand why the dog was protecting the man. "He is the demon king," the dog said. "He doesn't understand anything. He's just adapting to the situation." The bull demon declared that today, on behalf of the entire demon race, he would destroy the vile dog. The dog was much faster than the bull, and the latter had no chance of catching up with this nasty, fast animal. The bull demon was beside himself with rage. He had already prepared his fist to strike. The dog decided that this bull was too conceited. His eyes flashed with demonic fire. The beast entered the Dark Knight's domain. The demonic wolf howled. The demon bull didn't understand anything. Why the Dark Knight appeared, how this was possible. The dog was terrifying. He ordered the bull demon to look at him. There was a fight between the animals, and the bull demon's body was covered in many lacerations. The dog stepped aside, licking its bloody paws, and said that this weakling wanted to kill her. The bull demon was terrified. It turns out that this dog is the king of the demon Dark Knight. Finally, the dog replied, "The man understood everything." The bull could not calm down. He said, "Who would have thought that the Dark Knight demon king himself would serve a human?" The bull shouted that the dog was behaving like a pathetic mongrel and attacked it. The dog called the bull, who had been farming for a little over 100 years. The demonic dog opened his huge mouth, bared his terrible fangs, and said that the bull knew nothing at all. The bull was furiously approaching the dog. The collision could not be avoided. The dog was not going to dodge. It used all its demonic powers and inflicted a terrible wound on the bull. The bull's arm was injured. The dog was also injured. He said that if he had not been injured, he would have easily dealt with this bull. The bull screamed in pain. His arm was very badly injured. The dog added that unfortunately, the demon emperor Tian Pan, who could punish the ox, had died. The dog said that they would all die if they continued to cause trouble for its master and his disciple. The bull said, "Is this the reason for being a man's pet, a dog?" The dog attracts demons by doing this. The bull added that the dog had a chance to change if she helped defeat the guy and take the tripod and the girl away from him. The bull added that otherwise the entire southern region would learn about the criminal betrayal of this dog, and after that, all the demonic beasts would exclude the dog from the demonic race. The dog's eyes flashed. At first, she wanted to let the bull go, but the dog said that she now had other plans. The bull must answer for the insult, because no good demon like this bull deserves to live. Hulin continued to destroy the enemies one after another. The demons were already absorbed. The girl was very delighted. Another enemy was defeated after a swift movement of the sword. The girl looked into the eyes of the sect master and said that it was his turn now. There were only a few participants left. The girl asked who was next. The sect elder nominated another candidate to fight the girl and told him not to be afraid as they had already studied how she operated. It was speculated that this girl had realized the extremely terrifying sword intent, and despite her low cultivation level, she could throw a person's mind and body out of balance by spreading sword intent. The sect master said that her sword technique was imperfect. He advised his colleague to burn his soul and fight the girl with all his might. The man was sure that the young man would not leave his disciple to die, and he would stop the boy from saving Hulin, and then the two of them would attack him. He would not be able to stop a double attack at the divine formation level. The man said that the girl called the young man her mentor, so he was even stronger than her, and engaging in battle with him would be even more dangerous. The cult master shouted, "What if he has a different plan? After all, this is their only chance, and they must survive." The man stopped resisting and said he understood. The warrior entered the arena and offered the girl to fight him. The girl said she was ready. Julian noticed that this opponent was much stronger than his predecessors, and he had new techniques. The girl suggested that this was a stage of divine transformation, and this person is much stronger than at the stage of the birth of the soul. The man screamed and called for the elder. The warrior was surprised that the elder retreated from the battlefield so quickly. He must have had some business in the sect. The elder ordered, "Explode." He must have had some plan. The warrior did not notice at first that the elder had placed a soul-burning talisman on his back. This warrior was like a time bomb. He knew what was going to happen to him, but there was no way to avoid it. He began to swell. Julian and the young man did not understand why this happened. The sect master shouted for them to be reduced to ashes. The young old man remembered that he had a present, so he called out to him. The real one dealt with the fat man and dragged him to safety, where the man calmly exploded. The young man said the problem was solved. The young man thanked him for his excellent work. The sect master couldn't believe that the young man had escaped defeat. How was that possible? It was the soul explosion of a divine transformation stage cultivator, and this guy had prevented it so easily. Yuen awaited new orders from his master. The cult master thought that he needed to save his life, so he decided to get out of there as quickly as possible. The young man was not going to let him go so easily. He took the tree leaf in his hands and threw it after the fleeing sect master. The sect master crashed and fell. Yulin rushed to meet him. No one wanted to let the old man go. The sect master couldn't believe his eyes. He was stopped by an ordinary tree leaf, and the sect master lost his arm when he fell. The young man said that he was a ruthless person. He even killed a friend from his sect, and the Guanlin sect is said to preach righteousness. The sect master shouted, "Who is this young man?" It was impossible for the cultivator world to not know about him with such power. The young elder said that he had nothing to talk about with the scoundrel and ordered his disciple to deal with him. Everyone heard some noise and turned to look at him. The sect master shouted that it was the Demon Ox King and thought that he had hope of being saved. The man waved his remaining hand and shouted that he was here and asking for help. The young man wondered where the bull came from. It must have been handled by a dog. Everyone saw a bull demon emerge from the cloud of dust. He also had one arm and was also asking for help. This photograph shows two allies standing together, each missing an arm, each asking the other for help. Following the bull demon, a demonic dog emerged from the clouds of dust, carrying the bull demon's missing arm in its mouth. The dog looked very demonic. It had very sharp teeth and red glowing eyes. It must have terrified everyone, at least the bull. The dog was afraid that the boy would start scolding her for not doing her job and destroying the bull. Both the Demon King and the sect leader began to switch roles and stated that they had nothing to do with it. The bull demon said that the sect leader was a very shameless person. He himself offered to cooperate. The dog barked and pounced on the bull demon. The bull demon screamed in horror, asking to spare him and not take his life. The dog did not let him go and held the beast tightly. The sect leader shouted that he did not give the order to exterminate the Sun family. The bull demon screamed that this man was cheating again, that he was the one who had destroyed this family, and the bull demon knew nothing about it. The girl drew her sword and said that her family was probably also begging for mercy at that time. But no one gave them a chance, and they were all destroyed. The girl swung her sword and the sect leader fell. Julian left the battlefield and said that she had avenged her family. The young woman stopped to the side and began to cry. She was very sad. The girl cried and screamed that she had avenged everyone. Julian threw herself on her master's chest and continued to cry. The young man tried to calm her down and told her not to cry. She had taken revenge and now she had her whole life ahead of her. The young man remembered that he still had to deal with the bull demon. The bull demon again asked for mercy and said that he was ready to serve the oxen. The young man told the girl to do what she had to do. The Demon King's meat would be quite nutritious. The dog thought that even the hand of the demonic bull king was much tastier than the meat of an ordinary demonic bull. And the dog wondered how tasty her steak would be. The girl dealt with the bull demon in an instant. The sword did not fail her. The young man noted that the student had done everything quickly and correctly. The girl thought that if the master had not secretly helped her, it would not have been so easy to take revenge. Julian said that her revenge was complete. From now on, she would definitely follow her mentor's instructions and do everything he said. The young man said that there was no need for that. Now we had better cook the beef. The young elder told his disciple to prepare a cauldron and light a fire. The guy was grilling meat and saying how delicious it smelled. Everyone was pleased with the steak and shashlik that the young man prepared. Julian noticed in a conversation with her mentor that the ginseng fruit had grown a little taller. The young man, without looking away from the meat, thought that ginseng was a divine fruit. If you inhale its scent, you can live 360 years, and if you eat it, you can live 47,000 years. The young man decided that the numbers were probably exaggerated, but it really was a divine fruit, so its cultivation should really increase. The guy tried one fruit and decided that it tasted really juicy, but he didn't feel his cultivation increasing. The young man suggested that perhaps this was not a genuine ginseng tree. I thought it was just a tree with tasty fruits, and that's all. He heard someone coughing in the distance. He couldn't see anything because of the smoke. The young man said that he would go to the side and see who was hiding there. The young man saw an old man sitting near the fence and coughing. The old man saw the young man, greeted him, and asked him where he was. Could the stranger explain to him because he seemed to be lost? The guy thought the old man was a bad player and might get lost in the southern wastelands. It was as if the monsters had suddenly become vegetarians. The young man asked his grandfather's name and where he lived. The old man replied that his name was Sun Yun and that he was an ordinary farmer. The young man grinned and wondered when these old experts would stop pretending to be simple farmers and deceiving people. The boys said that they had just started dinner, and since the old man happened to be nearby, they invited him to the table. The old man said he would abstain, but thanked him for the invitation. The young man thought that usually all farmers were very arrogant, but this old man really looked like an ordinary farmer. Yun-Young asked if the young people were afraid of being attacked by monsters if they lived here permanently. The young man said that he would only be glad if the monsters attacked them. A dog peeked out from the bushes and thought that monsters were either fried or stewed this way. The only monster that was lucky in this sense was this dog, and he had to drag out a dog's life. The old man looked at this young man and wondered if he really dared to live in this wasteland among the demons. He is probably a real recluse expert. The young man thought that this man had no fluctuations in spiritual power, but he still needed to be checked. Sun Yun said that since the young man was so kind to him, could he please pour him something to drink? The boy asked what exactly the old man wanted to drink. The old man said that during his life, he had traveled a lot around the world, tried many different wines, so he would be happy with anything. The guy was irritated. This old man was clearly bragging. The young man also decided to brag. The boy said there was no tea, but in that case, he had something more interesting. The boy had alcoholic wine, which he had brewed from various fruits, and an elixir of the highest quality, and that was what he was going to surprise the old man with. The old man said that he would not dare to refuse such an offer. The old man thought that the shameless youth was bragging about his treasures. The young man poured the old man a whole glass of wine. The old man tasted the wine and was stunned. "What kind of wine is this?" he thought. "The smell alone can make you drunk." The young man also thought that he could brag. He was glad that he was able to surprise the old man. The elder came to the conclusion that this guy's wine was excellent, comparable to the wine of the immortals. The old man knew the legend that 4 great immortal drinks appeared in the cultivation world. They were the 9-spice spiritual wine, red berry wine, red silk wine, and crimson dust wine. Each of the drinks could improve the drinker's cultivation and help them break through to the next level. The old man thought that if this wine was like one of those drinks, then even one such cup could be exchanged for the treasure of a large sect. The old man tried to calm down and maintain his composure. You can't show surprise in front of a young man. The old man drank all the wine, sighed, and thought that he had been stuck at the peak of the divine transformation stage for many years. But he broke out as soon as he took a sip of this wine. "This is an amazing wine, definitely a magical drink, comparable to the 4 great wines of the immortals." The old man wondered about the young man. Who is he? He looks like an ordinary person, but what he pulls out is amazing. Sun Yun decided that he shouldn't lose to the young man so easily. The old man said that he also wanted to show the young man his charms. The old man, his eyes sparkling, asked the young man what he thought of the fruit and showed him the fruit. The young man asked again what kind of fruit it was. He had tensed up when the old man had reached into his pants. The young man wondered if it was just a stale plum and why he was showing it at all. The old man said that it was a magical fruit, a sacred fruit, which the old man had received by breaking through to the land of the immortals and miraculously escaping death. The old man invited the young master to try the fruit and tell him his opinion about it. The boy said that the fruit was, of course, not bad. He had eaten a lot of such plums before. The old man objected that it was the divine fruit of Caledonia and could not grow everywhere like Chinese cabbage. The old man told the young man that it was very impolite to boast so much. The young man agreed. He said that although this was a farming world, the times were ancient. In ancient times, you had to travel thousands of miles to get fresh plums. The old man replied that since the young man despised his divine fruit Caledon, he would look to see what else he had that could compare with it. The young man said that this Caledony fruit was no good and should not be paid attention to. Our hero decided to show the old man what the real world looks like. The old man thought he had traveled all over the world of perfection, but he had seen nothing. Grandfather was curious about what the young man was going to surprise him with. The young man showed the old man the brave new world, his vegetables, which he had grown on the land given to him by the elder of the sect. The old man was very surprised. Sun Yun said that every bush here was a rare treasure. He had never seen anything like it before. The old man saw a huge fruit on the tree and marveled at it. The elder said that this could not be, because the legendary magical ginseng tree even grows here. The old man reached for the ginseng fruit. He said he had a wonderful day. He couldn't stop. Someone asked the old man who had trespassed. Sun Yun said that the spirit that turned into an immortal spirit was the spirit of the ginseng tree. The old man immediately found himself hanging upside down. He asked the immortal lord to forgive him for his rudeness, because he had lost his temper and was hoping for leniency. The young man's assistant reported to his master that the old man had tried to steal fruit without asking permission. What should he do with him now? The old man was surprised again. The immortal spirit, whose power was at the stage of overcoming sorrow, bowed to this boy and honored him as his master. The old man didn't know how to proceed. This guy could pester immortals for no reason, and even an immortal would treat him like a master. Could it be that he was a heavenly immortal or even an immortal lord? Julian came up and asked what had happened. He thought that the stranger had come again. The young man asked the old man if he was so hungry that he could not stand on his feet. The young man thought that this agricultural expert was still pretending to be a farmer. The young man decided to take pity on the old man because he loved fruit very much. So the boy decided to get one of the fruits hanging high on the tree on his own. Grandfather received a very big fruit. He was surprised again. The old man spoke to the young man in the first person. The young man couldn't believe his eyes. Did this young man really want to give him this divine fruit? The young man said it was just an ordinary fruit. Why was the old man so excited? Sun Yun said that this is the ginseng fruit which can prolong life. The young man answered him that this was not uncommon and that he had no shortage of these fruits. The boy thought with regret that due to his lack of culture, he could eat these fruits only for the taste. The grandfather didn't even understand how to behave. The young man said that such fruits are not uncommon for him. Who is he anyway? The old man held the fruit high and exclaimed that it was divine. Legend has it that eating one of these fruits can increase your lifespan by 40,000 years. The old man continued to encourage and shout. The young man thought that he would not be able to go beyond the possessions of the invincible ball, and Julian was not strong enough, and he did not dare to let the dog go free. The young man decides that this old man in front of him is the best workforce, but for this he needs him to pretend to be a farmer and agree to work for him. The young man decided to make the old man an offer. He said that if the old man was not comfortable with just taking the fruit, he could do something for him. The old man, having hidden the fruits in a bag, said that he was ready to listen to the young man. The old man thought that the task from such an incomparable expert would be incredibly difficult. The boy agreed that it was a divine fruit, and that he had to pay for it somehow. The young man told the old man that the task was not difficult. He only needed to bring 100 kilograms of pork. The dog liked the offer. The man, pointing to his dog, said that it was very difficult for him to keep this animal. It eats a lot. The dog was unhappy because he was woken up. The old man was surprised to learn that the young man had another dog living on his estate. The old man recognized the dog. It was the Demon King. Sun Yun realized that the young man was treating the Demon King, who was comparable to a divine stage cultivator, like a dog. The old man decided that the young man was immortal. He really was immortal, having descended into the mortal world. This immortal instructed him to buy 100 kilograms of pork. Perhaps there is more to the task. The elder came to the conclusion that this assignment was given in exchange for ginseng fruits, so everything couldn't be that simple. The grandfather came to the conclusion that this task was a test given to him by the immortal. If he successfully passed this test, the young man would give him a wonderful opportunity. The guy asked if his request was difficult. The old man nodded his head in fear. He was ready to carry out any order. The old man was afraid that the immortal would be displeased with his indecisiveness. If he continued to act like this, he would miss a unique opportunity. So he decided to demonstrate his determination to serve this immortal. The old man said that he would never forget the kindness of this gentleman and swore allegiance to him. The old man added that if the young man had further instructions, he would continue to serve him faithfully and would even be prepared to take mortal risks to fulfill his duty. The boy, listening to the old man, decided that he was making it all up. The young man said that for the moment, this instruction was enough, and if the old man had no questions, he was free to go. Sun Yun bowed to the young man and went to carry out his order. The young man looked at the departing elder and thought that there shouldn't be any problems. The elder, looking once more at the divine fruit, decided to fulfill this command perfectly, for this was his test. The old man thought that the pork that the immortal wanted could not be ordinary pork. Everything in the environment remained calm. The divine garden bloomed, the dog rested, and Julien meditated. The young man continued to think continuously. The young man decided that things couldn't go on like this any longer. Something had to be done. The young man thought that 3 days had already passed since the old man's son had left, and no one who could increase the radius of the ball's territory had looked in on him. The guy, communicating with the system, remembered that outside the domain, the invincible ball was completely useless, so it could only move within a radius of 550 meters. And with such abilities, it is very inconvenient to obtain supplies. People think the young man is an expert, a recluse, but in reality, he is just a man who needs to eat 3 times a day. And where does he get all these supplies regularly? Looking at the dog, the young man thought that this dog was quite strong, and so far he was behaving quite loyally. But he was the Demon King, after all. The young man doubted that he could be released into the human city. As for Julian, our hero continued to reflect. She gained motivation to improve and progressed quickly, but her strength is still too weak. The boy came to the conclusion that this was why he needed to attract people to come here and help him. Otherwise, he would die. Even cultivators at the divine transformation stage, or even those for the birth of a soul, would be suitable for him. A new day had arrived. The young man thought that this day would not be calm. The dog barked. which was a sign that there were people here. The young man became interested in why people came here. The young men who flew by on their swords noticed that there was a lot of spiritual energy here, and below they saw an immortal tree. Our hero recognized one of the guys who came. It was V.E. Wu Ye. This is the grandson of the first Ball Sect's great elder. The guy said that they didn't come here for the immortal tree. He needs to deal with the owner of this estate. The concentration of spiritual energy is so high that it turns into liquid. One of the Ye suggested that they go down and look around. The young man rushed down the road. W recognized our hero. He realized that it was Chan Fong. Ye said he didn't expect to see this young man here. Wu Ye wondered why Cheng Feng became immortal and why this happened. Yen was very upset that she had to communicate with her master in this way. No one dares to speak to him so rudely. The guy decided that the girl looked good and asked if she wanted to call him her mentor. Yui promised to teach the girl something more interesting. The young woman called the guy who came in a scoundrel and told him not to try to mess with her. Our hero told the girl not to worry. He would deal with these bandits himself. The young man added that he had a common history with these young people and said that he really didn't expect to meet an old friend here. The guy who arrived said that he believed that Chan Fan died in the southern wastelands after leaving the sect, but it turned out that he came across such a wonderful place with tons of elixirs and medicinal plants, and even found a nice girl. Wu Ye said that he had to thank his junior disciple Chang Feng for giving him a great opportunity by leaving the sect. And even after escaping to the southern wastelands, Chan Fan had prepared so many good things for him. He gave his comrades the command to act. Our hero said that the famous worthless young master of the First Ball sect is a disgrace to the sect, just like his grandfather, who was an elder of this sect. Had Yui forgotten how the young man taught him a lesson last time? W. Ye didn't like what Chang Feng said and started shouting, "Our hero has shown what he can do." The young man fell, started screaming in pain, and said he had problems with his arm. The guy shouted for them all to attack this Chan Fan. They had to get rid of him. The young people shouted that this scoundrel had harmed their young master. Yui changed his mind and ordered them to capture the enemy alive. Yui decided to personally torture and execute him. Our hero took a leaf from the tree in his hand and told his student that she could attack. The girl did not think long and began to destroy all opponents. She moved lightning fast and struck her opponent, not sparing him. The opponents realized that the girl was holding a first-class divine sword in her hands. They began to make excuses and say that it was a misunderstanding. The young people said that this was an internal matter of their sect, and what relation could it have to the young man? The girl had fulfilled her task well. The opponents were astonished. Julian said that they dared to insult her mentor and even tried to harm him. How dare they say that it was a misunderstanding? By the law of honor, they must pay for it, and there is no forgiveness for them. The enemy was surprised when he heard the girl call Chan Fan a mentor. He said that the girl thought she could defeat him with just the power of her sword, and that she was going to test the 1,000 diffusion sword technique that he had been perfecting for 50 years. The girl treated his words with distrust, but it didn't matter. She was going to attack her opponent anyway. After the attack by the young woman, nothing was left of him except space. Yui lay on the ground with his arm torn off and screamed, "How is this possible?" The young man regretted coming here. He remembered this day forever. It was the day he lost his arm. Our hero stopped the girl from further slaughter and asked Yi what he wanted to say. Chang Feng asked where his arrogance had gone. Yui cried, crawled on the ground, and screamed that he was wrong. Our hero said that today he is merciful and is ready to let his rival go if he bows 100 times. Then he will tell the girl not to touch him. The guy wondered why he needed to do this 100 times. Julian swung her sword threateningly and looked at the enemy. Yui began to bow and ask for forgiveness every time. The young man grinned. The dog wanted to see the expression on the alien's face. From time to time, the dog growled threateningly. Yui bowed diligently and pressed his forehead into the ground, and blood dripped into the hole. Chan Fan stopped the injured young man and told him that he had had enough and could get out of there. The boy thanked him for sparing him. Julianne approached him with her sword, and they told him to get out of there quickly, but no one told him to get up. The boy looked at the girl with bewilderment. Julian grabbed his hand and dragged him away. Already outside the estate, Yui was able to get up. He was very angry with these young people. He decided to take revenge someday. But for this, he would have to get to his grandfather. When he comes to his grandfather, he will tell him everything, and his grandfather will send someone here, and they will beg on their knees for forgiveness. The dog couldn't believe that his master was going to let him go so easily. After all, he had threatened to bring help and bring everyone to their knees. The young man was surprised that the dog could speak. The dog explained that he was the Demon King. He had just been badly injured and could not speak. But now, thanks to his master, he had regained all his strength. The dog asked if this monster should be returned. He behaves very badly and speaks badly of the young man. The young man said that there was no need for this. He would wait until his grandfather came here, and it would be a wave of new impressions and treasures. The dog believed that human cultivators could be greedy and mean. The young man lay down under the tree again, thinking that the estate was still short of manpower, and that he himself could not go beyond the sword's territory, for beyond it he was only a commoner. Julian has special physical characteristics, but she has not developed him enough yet. The dog cannot be abandoned. He must guard the estate. The young man thought that although he could not go outside the territory, he could hire someone to run errands for him. The young man knew that to the cultivator sects of this world, his estate was a piece of immortal land. The so-called promised lands couldn't even compare to it. He needed to decide who to hire. The sacred sword sect that gave him the fertilizer seemed really good. The first ball sect in his master's bloodline also had good people. The young man regretted that he had not had time to make enough acquaintances. The young man noticed that something was happening outside the estate. The student decided to check what had happened there and reported it to the master. Chanfan also sent the dog out to scout out what happened and provide support to Julian. The dog realized that she would not be able to relax and would have to come to terms with it. Outside the estate, in a ravine, sat two old men. The elder scolded the old man whom our hero sent for pork. The elder was delighted and said that the elder himself wanted to go with him and meet the immortal. Julian came up and saw two old men arguing. She asked what Grandpa San was doing there. The elder saw Julienne and was amazed by her physique. It was something he had never seen before. The old man immediately jumped out of the ravine, rushed towards the girl, and shouted that this was the physique of the Dao sword. The old man didn't think that he would ever be able to see this legendary body type, especially since this body had already awakened. It was in a latent state. The elder asked Julienne if she would like to improve herself with him and become his student. The girl decided that this old man was definitely a powerful specialist. Julian suggested that he treat the wounds first. The elder replied that the severity of his injuries did not matter. What mattered most now was her incredible talent. Grandfather San pounced on the elder, pushed him away, and told him to get lost and not try to steal disciples from others. The old man was indignant. Could it be that the son of this old man was tired of life? The elder's eyes flashed with indignation as he tried to strike Grandfather Sun. The elder stopped the blow. The elder shouted at him not to even think about taking his disciple away from him. Grandfather Sun told the girl that his friend was a small landowner in the countryside, that he had never seen the world, and asked her not to be angry with him. San, in turn, yelled at the elder and declared that he was tired of living, because the girl's mentor was the very immortal he was talking about. Grandfather Sun added, "Does the elder really want to compete with an immortal for a disciple? It could cost him his life." The old man came to his senses and realized that he had made a mistake. He did not know that this girl was the immortal's disciple. The elder thought that this girl had reached such a level of development at such a young age that nothing less could be expected from an immortal's disciple. The girl, looking at these old men, decided that they both needed to be healed. The old man's son laughed when he heard this and said that the girl was right. The grandfather decided to apologize to the young owner. The young man who had come up a little earlier was surprised to see these elders discussing something among themselves. The young man saw that the old man had no pork and did not understand why he had brought another man here. Changfeng asked why the old man returned without pork. The old man began his story. The young man had given him a divine fruit. He wanted to repay him with demonic pork. He thought it would be easier if he joined forces with his old friend, but so far it had not worked. The young man thought, "Demon meat? That's good." The old man noticed that the young man was not angry. That was also good. The old man's son decided to go to the demon again with old Hang when he recovered from his wounds. The young man said that he should not push himself too hard at such an advanced age. The old man said sadly that he had disappointed his master and they would try not to let him down in the future. The grandfather's son told the young man not to worry. The two of them would go to the demon when they got better, and then they would definitely bring pork. The old man punched him in the chest. The blow was too strong, and he coughed and coughed up blood. The young man decided to help the old man with his wounds. The young man had a lot to offer. The young man had some trophies left over from the Guanlin sect cultivators, which were ordinary medicinal pills. The guy thought that if we use the power of the invincible ball region, we can transform these pills. The young man offered the old man medicine. The old man thanked the immortal young man. They behaved very delicately. The old men happily swallowed the healing pills that were supposed to help them recover. Old man Hang felt that this was truly an immortal pill. The old man's son felt even better. He realized that not only had he recovered from his recent wounds, but all the old injuries he had received during his cultivation had also healed. Old man Hang felt that some of the impurities in his body had been cleared out, and his talent had improved greatly. The elders thanked our hero. Thanks to these immortal pills, they recovered in the blink of an eye. Once again, they thanked the young man for the opportunities provided. The young man liked how the elders called these pills immortal. The young man said that he was glad that the grandfathers had recovered and that they liked everything. The boy heard a loud noise outside the estate again. Something happened there again. The elders thought that it was the demonic pig that had followed them all the way to the immortal's estate. The dog sensed a powerful demonic aura. Perhaps it was even the demon emperor. I wonder who it was coming from. Suddenly, a mighty demonic boar jumped out of the forest and rushed at full speed towards the estate. The boar stopped at the entrance to the estate and shouted to the two old men to come out and fight. He would show them. The dog was surprised to see a demon of such a size. It must have been a lot of pork. He heard that the cultivators of the western regions had an evil technique that could use demons to gather yin and perform yang to improve refinement. The dog looked at these elders and wondered if they cared about each other. The young man, seeing the stranger, asked his grandfathers what they had done to him. The elders pondered how to answer them correctly. They asked what Master thought of them as. They were both great cultivators at the divine transformation stage, and there was no point in using the demon pig in this way. The dog thought, who knows these old men? Maybe they are good friends, but suddenly decided to try breeding a lizard. The guy decided that everything is possible. The young man asked the old men, the pig the old men talked about before is not the one standing outside. The old man's son said that yes, this boar was originally an ordinary demonic boar, but somehow supernatural powers awakened within it, and it became very strong. Old man Hang added that it might be related to the recent incident with the torrent that fell into the sky. Due to the crack in the celestial space, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth became denser, causing strange things to happen in many places. The young man decided not to admit that he was to blame for the pot falling from the sky. The dog recognized this demon boar. His name was Shainan. It was rumored that the Shainan tribe originated from a deity at the divine stage, but they are almost no different from ordinary demonic pigs and do not have any special powers. They are slightly tastier than ordinary demonic pigs. Shainan said, why do they only think about food when they look at me? They don't want to think about anything else. The boar got angry. People do nothing but stuff their bellies all day long. Maybe they should be called gluttons now. The young man said that the boar demon had simply called them gluttons. The old man's son said that this boar demon was very special. He had a talent for insulting people. The young man wondered where the boar got such talent from. The boar also wondered, why did these old men, who were called great farmers, hide in the estate of a mere mortal? And this young guy, why is he here at all? The boar offered to let everyone try his improvement right here on themselves. He would see if they could handle it. The old people were terribly indignant. Nothing of the sort. Two old men decided to deal with the boar demon. They called him an unreasonable animal and said that he would answer for his arrogance. The boar decided to meet his opponents with dignity and assumed a fighting stance. The old men attacked him in pairs, using all their skills. A column of dust rose up, making it difficult to tell who was winning. The boar screamed that two elders were sneaking around attacking him, and they had recently broken into his house when he and his wife were alone. They were definitely perverts. The boar was indignant. Don't these old people have enough food in their lives? The wild demonic beast continued to protect and insult these elders. The old men were not satisfied and still hoped to get pork. They had a hunting passion. The boar was strong and shouted that these elders did not know how to attack and were not capable of anything at all. The dog declared that this Shainan had awakened some natural ability within himself. The young man wondered if his natural ability was the impenetrable pigskin or his chatty mouth. Shainan continued by saying that the blows of these grandfathers are very weak and they are not able to do anything. The old people saw that they could do nothing and became very angry. The dog remembered someone telling him that Shainans were the best at verbal sparring and even better at fighting. The young man wondered if Shainan's defenses were too high. The guy found it strange that two strong experts at the divine transformation stage couldn't handle this Shainan. Even if this boar has supernatural powers, its pigskin is incredibly thick. The old man was probably talking about the awakened bloodline. He remembered how the other demons said that Shannon used to have the bloodline of a demon god. The guy thought that these two old men would not last long. The boar began to show initiative, and the old people tried to hide from him. The young man decided that he needed to take action and intervene. The guy didn't forget that the invincible sword's range only covered the estate and a small part of the mountain, and the demon boar's position was a little further away. Julienne took the initiative. She asked her mentor if she could help the two old men. The young man said he had another idea. The young man decided to resort to the help of the dog and ordered it to take Shannon off his back, pick him up, and take him to one place. The dog growled that it did not like the orders of the young man. The old men realized that this demon boar was letting them down. The immortal must be watching them, and they can't disgrace themselves. They can't hold back any longer. Sometimes they attack as hard as they can. The boar stated that these elders had no right to be called farmers. They didn't even have a normal fist. The old men said that the boar demon had become completely impudent. Now they would show him a joint attack. The old men said that they still had gunpowder in their powder flasks and berries in their buttocks. They activated their internal energy and remembered all their fighting techniques. The elders used the 8 dragon veins technique. It had no effect on the boar. He said that nothing hurt. The boar was happy. The demon boar decided to show what he was now capable of. He had his own secret demonic powers. The boar sent a clot of energy collected from his internal potential towards his opponents. The old people were amazed. How is this possible? The boar said that he was not yet capable of such things, and old people were very fragile. At this time, a dog crept up behind the boar. He was silent for a long time. The dog sank its teeth into the boar's hind leg. The dog did not let go of the boar, but thought to itself that its skin was too thick. The boar was outraged by the brazen attack from behind and bit the dog on the back of the head. The dog couldn't stand it and let the boar go. It seemed to her that this boar hadn't been washed for a long time, and it smelled very bad. Now the dog's mouth smelled like pork. The boar didn't expect that the dog, being the demon king, would attack stealthily and pretend to be a dog. The boar told the dog that he could not fall lower. The boar ran after the dog. Our hero stood in front of the boar and decided to put an end to this farcical fun. The young man said that the boar had finally bitten and ran after the dog to the right place. The young man had a branch in his hand. The boar demon could not understand what had happened. This demonic dog was hiding behind a mere mortal. Something is wrong here. A thought flashed through the boar's mind. Couldn't this young man, to whom those two old hooligans ran, be the patron? Maybe he should have been a little more careful. The dog slowed down, and the boar had to move forward a little further. The boar looked at the dog and thought that today he would give her some soup to eat. The young man decided to act immediately. The boar was in an advantageous position for attack. The demon boar decided that even a divine transformation cultivator would not be able to break his defense. This was his strongest defensive talent, left to him by his ancestor. The young man waved his hand, in which he held the twig. The boar did not understand what had happened to him. The wild beast lay on the ground and did not understand how this was possible. It was his talent that allowed him to dominate the entire path through the mountains of the vast southern wasteland. Even the demon kings could do nothing to him, and yet here he was defeated with a simple blow. The young man, grinning, sharpened his sharp knife. The dog smiled happily. The boar, with frightened eyes, squealed in fear. The young man waved his cleaver and shouted that it was time to serve. The boar was frightened for the last time and shouted that he was mistaken, ready to recognize the young man as his master. The boar begged with tears in his eyes. He said that the great master would spare him and he would become his faithful pet. The young man, seeing tears in the eyes of the beast, took pity on him and decided not to kill him. The boar decided that he had a talent for adapting to circumstances. Otherwise, he would be a roast pig today. The old men had no doubt that the young man would easily break through the defense against which they were completely powerless. The elders thought it was good that they had joined this influential man. The dog said, "And the boar himself said about me that I serve man as a dog, and he, as the king of demons, even awakened the supernatural powers of the family. Why does he behave so shamelessly?" the dog added. The boar began to apologize with tears in his eyes and said that he did not know before that he was the boss here. The boar apologized to the young man for being away from his master. He missed his master very much. Everyone listened to the demon boar and decided that he was flattering his master very much. This was outrageous. He was the leader in flattery. The dog said that this was very disgusting. Even the young man thought that this demonic boar was behaving very shamelessly, and suddenly said that the world had changed a lot. Even pigs had become more insightful than some people. The young man warned the boar not to give him a reason to kill him for meat. The dog said he could look after the house, but what good is a boar? He can only go to dinner. The boar began to justify himself and said that he could do anything his master wanted. In the whole area, he was the most skilled demon boar. He could dig, plow the earth, loosen the soil, and carry loads, and all this with a quality guarantee. The young man thought it would be a good idea to keep the demon as a workforce. The best qualities of this boar are that it has an incredibly poisonous tongue, and its defense is difficult to penetrate. Perhaps it will attract hatred in the invincible sword realm. The young man decided that the boar would stay on the farm and he would find him a place to settle down. The boar thanked his owner for this. The demon boar decided that this estate looked like the land of immortals. The boar saw spiritual herbs and elixirs and even divine fruits everywhere. The dog thought that the boar had become very picky. He also asked how the demon king could begin to serve humans in the form of a dog. The boar thought that if he could eat spiritual herbs and elixirs every day, he would also want to become a dog. The boar demon introduced himself and said that his name was Laju. He asked if he would desecrate the place if he lived there. The boar asked permission to dig a hole near the garden and make it a place to live. The dog decided that this boar was terribly shameless. Everyone watched as the boar tended the backyard and loosened the soil. The old man's son decided that this boar would be very hardworking and useful. The dog noted that if the boar had not been so obedient, they would now be eating pork stew. The old man apologized to the young man because due to his incompetence, he was unable to enjoy the meal. The young man said it was no big deal, but thought to himself that he was being very kind, so he would be content with just pork. He didn't know that this old man would go so far into the wilderness to provoke the boar demon. San said he would do it right away and would not return without pork. The old men went hunting and decided that this time they would not be able to produce a lord. Otherwise, their chance to become immortal would be lost. The young man decided that these two old men were very impatient. The young man decided to go take a nap. He told the girl to continue training and the dog to keep an eye on the boar. The old man's son told Old Man Hang to go back and bring his grandchildren. It would be nice to introduce them to the immortal. Old Man Hang told the old man's son to bring his students and grandchildren with him. The young man who lost his arm said that his grandfather and other disciples of the sect saw the old men and thought that they were from the First Ball sect. The elders saw this company and wondered why so many of them had gathered there and why they were flying towards the estate. The old men decided that if this company decided to insult the immortal master, then they would have a chance to distinguish themselves and show their good side in front of the young man. The boy told his grandfather that this young man lived here and pointed his finger at the manor. This Chang Fong had somehow lured a strong female sword practitioner to his side, and now this girl was guarding the manor. The elders said that the grandfather would definitely avenge his grandson. The old man ordered everyone to concentrate and surround the estate so that not a single bird could escape the trap. The sect's disciples concentrated and began to approach the place. The insulted young man said that when the time came, he would make this Chang Fong kneel before him. Grandfather said that he would punish this girl with a sword and then test all the elixirs in the manor to see if he could restore the severed arm. The girl recognized the young man and said that it was him again, the scum of the first sword sect. She spared him, but he dared to come again. The elder asked why this girl had offended his grandson. The old man asked why this girl had so much anger at such a young age. The girl, smiling, told the old man that her mentor had saved his grandson's life, and he had brought the old man to their home. "Don't they all have something to live on?" she added. The elders shouted that the girl was behaving very insolently and would have to answer for it. For this, he could use his punishing sword. The girl prepared for battle and just in case pulled out her weapon. The dog also prepared to attack. The boar shouted that he would not tolerate this dirty old man. The old man called the boar a shameless demon. "Don't put your finger in the demon's mouth." He laughed and said, "What a great man, perfecting his abilities." The boar apologized and said that he had a bad memory. Otherwise, he would not have addressed the old man as a person. The elder said, "Now let's see what the boar can do." The old man acted as commander-in-chief. He ordered a row of swords to be put out and everyone dispersed. The offended young man stated that this demon boar was clearly tired of life. Now he would see the consequences of insulting their sect. The boar began to call the newcomers and their sect names. He was a master of insults. The wild beast shouted at them to hurry up and called them a bunch of orphans who had grown up without proper upbringing. The young people did not know how to react to this insult. It was inappropriate. The boar was very fierce and began to throw aside the young men who were attacking him. It was like uncontrollable rage, and even worse. The dog was ready to tear everyone apart. She screamed that they had no right to attack Miss Julian. The dog yelped, indicating that these impudent fellows had completely lost their fear. They must be very afraid of her. The young men looked defeated, their weapons lying next to them. The military strategists decided to change tactics and declared that everyone should go on the defensive and everyone should use the sword key. The scene on the battlefield was terrifying. The theater of battle was impressive. The boar and the dog grinned. They were not used to this. They had a lot of combat experience behind them. The beast let out a battle cry and its eyes sparkled as befits a true demon. The dog screamed that it was all a cheap trick and unleashed his demonic power. The boar did not lag behind him. The attackers got what they deserved again. The elder noticed that these two demon kings had defeated his military forces. The grandfather reproached his grandson. "Why didn't you tell me that there are kings here?" The young man said that he himself did not know. There was no one here last time. It was unclear how this Chanfan was able to subjugate the demon kings. The old man decided to go on the attack himself. He would deal with his grandson later. The commander gave the order to line up in a large battle formation. The young warriors lined up in a large formation. The elder thought that even if they were demon kings, he did not believe that they could resist such a trick. The guy said that their first sword sect became famous in the southern wasteland, precisely because of their sword construction. The dog wanted to rush into attack, but the girl shouted at it to retreat. A powerful attack from the sky fell on the place. The defenders were ready to accept the fight. Everyone decided not to retreat and to protect their home, farm, and everyone there. The beast barely managed to repel the attack. The boar said that such a sword formation really deserves glory. His thick skin played into the boar's hands. The dog thought that he couldn't leave this demon boar behind. Otherwise, the owner would be unhappy later. The boar approached the attackers. They could not understand why they could not pierce the skin of this animal. The elder ordered not to panic. Everyone had to use their techniques to fill the sword formation with spiritual energy. The teacher, as usual, took control of the battle. The dog dodged the attacks of the attackers. It was hard for her. Her skin was not as thick as that of the demonic boar. Julian ran up to the owner of the estate. The young man was resting. The girl shouted that people from the first ball sect had come here again. The guy said it didn't matter much, and added that he was waiting for them and was ready for them. Seeing the boar demon approaching him, the elder shouted for him to change formation. The demon boar thought that things were getting dangerous and even considered running away. But then a young man appeared, and the boar cast aside these thoughts. He was afraid of his new master. The boar shouted at the dog to retreat so that he could attack first. The dog growled that it would follow under the cover of the boar. The boar shouted that he was Shankan, the descendant of a deity. The elder's sword pierced the demon boar's chest, causing him to fall to the ground. The dog howled that its chance had come. It was timid and terrible. The elder said that he could handle such a dog and swung his sword. The dog was lightning fast and was ready to tear and throw everything that came into its hands. The elder and his sword were unable to stop this deadly weapon called the demon dog. The dog pounced on the elder and thought that he was not so experienced. The next to fly up was a boar. It was still alive and escaped with only minor bruises. The armor in the form of skin helped it avoid injuries. The boar was very hot-tempered, but he needed a break. All of the elder's companions who were nearby could feel the power of this demon boar. All the attackers scattered around the area. The boar caused serious damage, but he was also wounded. The beast plopped down into a hole he had dug for himself and said that he was badly injured and needed to recover. A young man came up and said that the boar had done a good job and he would reward him well. He thanked him for his service. The boar replied that he was happy to do his best. The dog also received praise verbally. Our hero said that he had not seen the great elder for a long time, so he invited him to visit. The old man said that he would report to the head of the sect that the young man had conspired with demons and killed his comrades. After that, the young man would be expelled from the sect and destroyed. The young man noted that this would only happen if he returned there. The young man wondered if he should let them go so that they could bring him more experience. The young man said that they would all have to stay. The young man decided to get rid of all these scoundrels and destroy the enemy. The system recorded additional points in the undefeated ball zone. The young man decided on another rich harvest. The young man thanked the dog and the boar for their good, faithful service. He said that they had done a very good job. The young master's assistant served impeccably near the tree, awaiting further orders. The young man said he would not harm his animals and brought them a treat. The wild demon beasts happily ate the divine fruits and thanked their mentor. The young man said that this was their reward for helping teach the first sword sect a lesson. This time the boar shouted, his eyes wide, that his family was being purified. The dog said that his was too. Boar stated that his natural abilities had become much stronger. The dog did not lag behind and said that she too had awakened the talent of supernatural power. The dog was happy that now she also had supernatural abilities. The young man asked them to demonstrate their abilities to him. The boar stood up to his full height and said that his new ability allowed him to manipulate the earth. The boar summoned 3 more demons of the earth and said that now, when he had to fight, he would besiege the enemy only with his minions of justice. The girl was amazed by such power. She thought that such a powerful force would certainly be of great help to their mentor. The young man thought that now that he had this pig, they would not have to worry about hard work. The dog wanted to show off and told his owner to look at him. The dog managed to jump very high. Julian couldn't understand what was happening, why the light suddenly disappeared. The dog said that this was her natural talent and she was not afraid. The dog added that if before the absorption of the light source was only an illusion created by itself, now there was a real absorption of the surrounding light, capable of limiting the field of vision of an entire group of creatures. Everyone was very surprised. The dog added that her innate natural strength had another effect. He could have dived into the shadows like that and no one would have noticed him. The girl noticed that these demon kings ruled over their tribes. The boar demon turned to the young man and called him master. The boar said he had one request. The young man said he was listening to him. The boar said that he would like to return home and bring his wife and children here. The young man thought that he couldn't go beyond this area after all. He had originally wanted to find a group of beings who would carry out his orders to the boar. The young man said, sure. Perhaps the young man said that the dog could bring his family too. The boar thanked the owner. The dog barked joyfully. The girl heard about this family and became sad. The young man realized that he shouldn't talk about this in Julian's presence. The young man told the girl that she could consider him her family. The girl nodded and said that she agreed. Julian's cheeks turned red. The boy and the dog said that they were her family too. The girl blushed even more. It was nice. The young man said he had had enough and sent the animals to bring their tribes here. The animals happily ran to carry out this pleasant task. After some time, a very large extension was added to the estate. The boar ordered everyone to stop because there was traffic ahead. An entire expedition was passing by. The beast was curious as to why this mountain in the southern wasteland was becoming more and more chaotic. A landing party of girls armed with swords disembarked from a passing ship. As they were heading for the shore, they realized that things were bad. A tribe of demons lived down there. The girls noticed that they were demonic pigs and said that they needed to be careful. The girl and the boar exchanged glances. It was an unexpected meeting. The boar told them to keep running. It seemed like someone was chasing them. The girl wondered why these demonic pigs did not attack them, since humans and demons had always been enemies. The girl said that they should hurry. Now is not the time to think about a relationship. The girls' pursuers appeared from above. They declared that the girls would not go anywhere. They called them the disciples of the Valley of 10,000 Flowers. Sha Shen, the elder of the Crying Ghost Cave, asked why there were so many demon pigs here. The boar told the elder to pretend they weren't there and let them fight among themselves, because the boars had their own business. The boar ordered his family to continue pursuing him. The old man decided not to let the boar demons in and used his sword to block them. The pursuers were delighted. If they met such a large herd of pigs, then they would have a feast that evening. The elders said that the meat of these piglets would be very tender if they were roasted. The young people laughed. The boar said that these guys don't look old, but they seem to be in a great hurry to get to the other end of the world to see their ancestors. The boar came to the conclusion that when they reached their ancestors, they would regret their birth. The elder stated that the demon boar talks a lot and is clearly bored with life. The old man ordered his disciples to hurry and destroy these animals. The boar had a very wise phrase. What scoundrels scatter soybeans across a sesame field? The boar also declared that the dung beetle should not open its mouth, as it stinks too much. Using his new powers, the boar created demon boars from the earth. This immediately changed the balance of power. The boar told the people to go to their ancestors and have feasts there.